Well, the weekend has begun. As always, it's always chaotic, so we're trying to minimize what we can do for today. So I thought, let's do New Japan Pro Wrestling with day 4 of New Japan Seoul. Nothing too specific, but the matches were pretty interesting. And then we move on, of course, with Stardom's The Conversion. This one features, of course, the Goddesses Tag titles on the line. Can the young wrestlers of Stars win Gordiana and Ida win these titles from their seniors? Well, we'll see about that. And of course, we have the white belt and a red belt also in play as well. But don't forget, we have the final chapter elimination match between two of Stardom's oldest factions within the promotion, Queen's Quest and Oda Tai. So who will walk out as the victor, and who will be the last one remaining as a sole member? Well, we're going to find out as well. And then we move on with AEW Collision. We have some very interesting matches taking place. Will Ospreay defends the International Championship against Brian Cage. And we have plenty other matches as well, I think we're going to be reviewing as well. Now, for our news updates, we're only going to focus on developments. Now, a few of them, as you know, because of the time difference here in the States and in Japan, two things came about. One, as you know, with the situation that took place after Stardom's conversion, we saw Kamitani carrying the Kamitani, but in a way that you guys wouldn't expect. And then, of course, the IWGP Women's Championship match in Ice Ribbon. And there's plenty of other things we're also going to be talking as well. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, YuuRi here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We have the Unagi Siaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions set aside, it's not to give all what she's got, Captain. So let's begin with our very first review, and that is, of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Alright, New Japan Pro Wrestling, this is day 4 of their New Japan Soul series that just begun earlier this month, I believe. Let's begin with our first match. Now, our first match, we have brand new Young Lions. Never heard of these guys, but I'm sure that we're going to see some great things with them as time as progresses for them and for us to watch them. The first guy, we have Daiki Nagai and Masatora Yasuda. Now, nothing too significant about this match, but as I said before, these guys are young lions. Basically, when we see a young lion face a much experienced wrestler, their sole purpose they lose because they're only limited to what they can use in the ring. But however, when it comes to young lions, there's 3/4 of a chance they could win or lose or draw, and that's exactly what happened. But this match unfortunately ends in a 10-minute time limit draw, which is no good for the wrestlers, and of course, but I'm sure we'll see those two face off until one of them gets the win. Now our next match, as I mentioned about young lions, we got the much earlier experienced young lions, Katsuya Musashima and Shomakato. They take on the members of the United Empire, Francesco Akira, and of course the Great Khan. Now, of course, as I said before, when we see young lions, because they're only limited what they can use in the ring, sometimes they lose in the match, and that's exactly what happened because Fireball Francesco Akira applied the Fireball on Musashima, and just like that, it was over. Now, speaking of more of the United Empire, as you know, we got the other members, Jeff Cobb, Henare, and TJP. They go in the ring. They take on Tomoaki Hamna, Tomohiro Ishii, and Satoshi Kojima. Now, remember, United Empire are now in full force. As you know, recently Henare just won his first championship. He is now the new never openweight champion, so that will put the entire locker room on notice, knowing they have a tough person to beat. But in this case, it was of course Henare with the Street of Rage that ended this match onto Hamna, giving the United Empire the edge. Now they will come out eventually to support Cal Newman, who's involved in the qualifier matches for the last spot in the A block, I believe. But we will talk about that in a little bit. Now, our next match, we have just 5 guy members: Taka Michinoku, Yuya Uemura, Taichi, Sanada, and Doiki. Now, Doiki is leading this group because apparently the opponents is led by none other than Desperado. He is joined with, of course, Bolton Oleg, Toroyanu, Hiroshi Tanahashi, our current never openweight 6-man champion, tag team champions, Hiroki Goto, and just like that. So that kind of puts it in for everyone. Now, don't forget, Doki does have an opportunity to face Despi for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. That's something that will be in coming real soon, I think in July. But none of this. But of course, the X factors of this match is simple. On one side, we have most of the champions involved. Of course, the never openweight 6-man tag team champions. I mean, just 5 guys could either pin Oleg, Yano, or Tanahashi. That basically would have been something that happened, but no, Bolton Oleg, who continued to surprise us, was the one who picked up the win when he applied the Kamikaze onto Taka Michinoku, allowing for him and his team to win. Now, of course, Doiki may be a little disappointed. I'm sure he will look back onto this knowing that soon he'll face against one guy. In the beginning, he never liked them, but we'll see how that rolls up. Now, as you know, we have the G1 Climax coming up real soon. However, the situation is this. There's 2 available spots in both blocks, in the A block and the B block. So basically 1 each. So they set up a series of a tournament bracket to find out who will be involved. Now for the A block, we have various other people. Now this is the matches we have. The first one, we have Yujiro Takahashi versus Cal Newman. Now, what's interesting is I did not see House of Torture involved in this one. Normally, they would get involved because they would stop at nothing to get what they want. Basically, to get their hands on the IWGP World Heavyweight title. But it was Cal Newman with the Os Cutter that finished off Yujiro Takahashi. As you guys know, the Os Cutter was the move that Will Ospreay used. So Cal Newman has been using that as part of his repertoire. So we'll see how he rolls up. Now, this is only just the first stage, so we'll see what happens from here on out. Now our next match on the A block bracket for the qualifier, we have Chase Owens versus Yoshihashi. Now these two guys are no strangers from each other. Don't forget they have faced each other in tag team contingency. But the question is, can Chase Owens make his way again, or will it be Yoshihashi? Well, it was Yoshihashi who picked up the win by a pinfall, and just like that, he advances. But we'll see what happens when the qualifiers are done. Now our main event, we have those scumbags, the House of Torture, Kanemaru, Sho, Ren Narita, and Evil, and of course Dick was right there, and they take on Lij, Bushi, Titan, Yota Tsuji, and Tetsuya Naito. Now before the match even began, Sho with his loud mouth once again was saying stupid things. I don't know what he said, but he might have thought this was going to work in his favor, but it did not. But of course, when it comes to House of Torture, we know they have tactics where they cheat their way through, even though they act like they're good guys, which is a load of bullshit. But anyway, you would think that the House of Torture would have got the advantage. Nope. It was Naito who picked up the win when he applied Destino on Kanemaru, allowing for him and his team to pick up the win. So we'll be seeing more of these guys down the road, but we got to pay attention for the upcoming events. As you know, Naito will be at the Forbidden Door, so we'll pay attention to that. So right now we are done with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so let's move on with Stardom. Alright, Stardom, the conversion. So we got a lot of things that took place in this one. Now, our first match is a pretty good opener. It's the Goddesses of Stardom tag team titles. The challengers Wing Gori, Hanan, and Saida faces their teammates from Stars, FWC, Hazuki, and Koguma. Now, this is a good opportunity. As you know, right now, Ida and Hanan are currently the New Blood Tag Team Champions. So they have good defenses that they defended these belts ever since winning them from Starlight Kid and Karma. But, however, they will put themselves to the test in hopes they could be double champions in the tag team division. But they pushed, of course, the FWC to their limits, and I think that was pretty well damn good. I mean, you wouldn't expect something like this that would go down. But, however, as you know, Koguma and Hazuki have a great relationship dating back to their rookie days. They've always worked together very well. But in the end, it was Hazuki who was able to deflect the Hanan away from Ida in order for Koguma to apply the diving body press. And just like that, FWC retained their belts. But during the post-match, they put out a promo and they gave props to both Ida and Hanan, knowing they did pretty well, that maybe in the future they could become Goddesses Tag Champions, and I'm sure that means a lot to them. But of course, many of you may question who will be the next challengers. Well, they nominated God's Eye members Konami and Shuri. Now, it's no secret, if you guys have been watching, of course, the post-match comments, Konami and Shuri have their eyes set on those tag belts. So, most likely, they're the next challengers. Now, our next match, this is a singles match. This was a match that was asked upon by Mei Seira to Starlight Kid. Now, this happened, of course, because Starlight Kid had a role coming up, and I thought the match was pretty good. Now, as you all know, Starlight Kid and Mei Seira was brought to Stardom, all thanks to Starlight Kid, when they had that match with Zumi and Mei Shiruga I think last year. But nonetheless, Mei Seira is a real amazing wrestler and very fun to watch. But the real question is, these two are high speedsters. How will they actually overcome each other? Well, it was Starlight Kid who overturned it with a tiger suplex, and just like that, she won the match. However, she whispered something into Mei Seira, but we just didn't know what. But Mei Seira and then passed it on to Suzuki. It's still unclear what was going on, so we'll see what happens. Now, our next match, we have Cosmic Angel members Yuna Mizumori and Natsupoi teaming up. They faces against EXV members Hanako and Mina Shirakawa. Now, it's been a while since both Mina and Natsupoi faced off each other. This happened last year, I think, before during the white belt match, and this was going to be interesting to see. But we do see there was some interesting moments between both Natsupoi and Mina, but in the end, it was of course Mina with the glamorous driver Mina onto Yuna Mizumori to pick up the win. So that's the first loss for the Cosmic Angels in the conversion. Now, speaking of Cosmic Angels, our next match we have God's Eyes, consisting of Rana Yagami, Tomoka Inaba, and Saki Kashima. They face the other members of the Cosmic Angels. We have Young Kozen, Sayaka Kurata, Aya Sakura, and Tam Nakano. Yes, so that way the seniors will learn something from her. But what's interesting about this match is Tomoka Inaba and her confrontation towards Tam. Now remember, Tam does have a bit of a martial arts background, just like Tomoka Inaba, so it would make sense. But however, it was of course Tomoka Inaba who took out Sakura with the one shot, one kick onto her, but she was not the legal person to pin her. Kashima was already passed out somewhere and dragged her carcass on top of her to pick up the win. It's not the first time the God's Eye do this. I mean, simple. Yes, it's kind of childish to Kashima the way she behaves, but she is useful to them. But it makes great entertainment for all of us. So that's how she picked up the win. I mean, you wouldn't expect it at all, but it was great. Now, our next match is a very, very special match. As you all know, the biopic of Mayu Iwatani, the Runaway Wrestler, is already out. And we had a special match involving that. We have God's Eye members Ami Sodi, and of course Shuri dressed up as Kagetsu being there. Now, those who have been aware of this, Shuri, in the other hand, actually was dressed up at Kagetsu, was playing Kagetsu at in the film. So it would make absolute sense towards that. Then we see, of course, two Mayus involved in this match. Of course, Anna Hirai, who portrays Mayu in the film, she shows up with her, and then Momokogo dressed up as Fuka. Yes, so if you guys know that, Momokogo did participate in the film as Fuka, playing her. So it was a real fun match, you know. I thought it was great. Even Anna actually participated. It was more like a handicap match, you know, but it was a whole lot of fun, to be honest with you. But surprise, surprise, Shuri tapped into her Kagetsu spirit, spitting out the infamous mist. If you guys are familiarized with Kagetsu, well, he goes by Yu Ishino now, who turned it from a woman to a man. Used to spit out mist all the time and got Mayu into that. So I thought it was great, but unfortunately this match ended in a time limit draw. So that's how it ends right there. So, but it was a fun match, I'm not gonna lie. Now, our next match, this one is one I think many people may say this one was giving them the nervousness, because we don't know how this is going to end. It was called the final chapter for a reason. These two factions have been rivals for a long time. During Queen's Quest, on that side, it began with Io Sky, but how will this end? Then we have Oedo Tai. We had, of course, Ak Yasukawa, Kyoko Kimura, and then Kagetsu. But now Natsuko Tora is the leader. Now, this match had a very interesting stipulation. The stipulation that was later cooked up by Natsuko Tora indicates whoever is the last person standing, last person eliminated, will be the sole member within in Queen's Quest in the faction, while the others are expelled. This was something that was cooked up by Natsuko Tora. So we have Queen's Quest, Kamitani, Azumi, Amasaki, Hina, and Lady C taking on Oedo Tai's Natsuko Tora, Tekla, Momo Watanabe, Raka, and of course Hina. Now, I'm not going to go through all the eliminations, but towards the end, we did see a moment where we thought Momo was helping Kamitani, but unfortunately I did mention this in a news update, that I had that distinct feeling that Natsuko Tora had something planned, and I was right. Momo played Kamitani and they lost. That means Kamitani is the last person that was eliminated. That means she is the sole member of Queen's Quest. And of course, Oedo Tai mocking her, knowing that she's a false leader. She didn't do a good job. She's nothing compared like Io Sky or Momo, but I think, in my opinion, Kamitani was a bit more foolish. Basically, she stepped on the toes of Oedo Tai in hopes that Momo Watanabe will return, but it did not happen. With Kamitani, all she can do is say she was sorry to the now former members of Queen's Quest. However, surprisingly, God's Eye showed up, and they offered them a position to join their group. But it turns out, they're not the only ones. And this one got a little more interesting. We see Starlight Kid coming out, calling out Azumi and Amasaki, asking them to join her and her unit. And you would have thought, what? And then that's when it made sense. Starlight Kid has made her decision. She's forming a unit of her own with Suzuki and Mei Sita, Crazy Star. Now, some of you may question, why did Starlight Kid chose Azumi and Amasaki? Their specific reason. Azumi and Starlight Kid, as you all know, they have been rivals for a long time. They're part of the same generation, just like Mei Sita and Suzuki. Amasaki, I don't think she's in the same generation, but however, they saw something valuable in her. So basically, there's that. But however, at the moment, Azumi had to decline because at this point, it's still too much for them, knowing that they lost their home, that they're no longer in Queen's Quest. So, but they did tell them that they'll be waiting for them until they make their decision. So that's going to take a while to see. Now, our next match is the Wonder of Stardom Championship. We have, of course, the challenger, Mika Iwata from Sendai Girls, the current Sendai Girls World Champion, taking on Saru Inoue. Now, these two ladies have known each other many times. Much recently, they were in a match that ended in a time limit draw, which is, of course, like any other type of match, unacceptable. So it was Mika Iwata who showed up at a Stardom show, decided to become her next challenger, which it did. But I have to say, Mika Iwata really put a lot of hurt into Saru Inoue. And you wouldn't imagine. Now, Inoue, knowing her what she can do, well, apparently everything went south for her when, of course, Iwata applied like a driver, and just like that, it was over. And Mika Iwata becomes our brand new white belt champion, but at the same time, she issued another challenge to Inoue, a chance to get it back at this time instead of a Stardom ring in Sendai's. Even not, but however, Inoue was dazed, like she completely felt like she lost her mind. But Natsuko tried to reason with her, and she just walked away, like didn't say a word. Natsuko tried to reason with her, saying, "What about the promise they made?" So she just left, and of course, Iwata said she doesn't care who will show up at Sendai Girls to take this belt from her. However, in the backstage, there was a photo where, of course, Natsuko still tried to reason with her, but all she can say is sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking, but that's how it was. Now, our main event is the World of Stardom Championship, the red belt. We have Xena versus Maika. So basically, this is a match that, of course, Micah chose. Nobody was willing to challenge Micah for the red belt. But man, they went full on Metal Blaze on this one. You wouldn't expect it. No holdbacks. But Xena did kicked out in everything that Micah had applied, including the Michinoku driver. So the last resort was, of course, the Michinoku driver 2, which sealed the deal. And of course, Micah did a promo at the end telling her something in English, which is interesting. But however, Natsuko Tora made her claim now to challenge for the red belt, and she's not the only one. So did Tomoka Inaba. Now remember, Tomoka Inaba and Micah both were trained by the same person, Taka Michinoku, at Just Tap Out. So basically there's that. Now, Tomoka proposed that this match should take place in GTO, which, of course, it would make sense on that. But Natsuko Tora told her, I don't care which one of you comes out. I'll see you soon. But there are those who have been talking already in social media that they predict that Micah will lose the belt to Natsuko Tora, but we'll see what happens. So I think that's pretty much it with Stardom. I mean, a lot of things happened, but right now I think many people are questioning what is going to happen with the former members of Queen's Quest. Are they willing to accept the offers that they were being asked by both Starlight Kid and her group, and of course God's Eye? We don't know. But what will Kamitani do now? Now she's the sole member. Well, we'll see. I'm sure she'll try to figure something out, but we'll get about her later on. Let's move on with AEW Collision. Alright, AEW Collision. It begins with, of course, Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata taking on the premier athletes, Josh Woods, Tony Nese, Ari Daivari. Now, remember, they had, of course, Nese decided to get in the face of Hook, because he eats chips and all this other stuff, and they were sneak attacked by the premier athletes. Now, we saw Shibata with the camera, multiple times. I thought it was so great. But now they get their chance. But one thing that was interesting in this match that makes it funny is that Shibata, who spent now his time getting to know Samoa Joe, does the nope move. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to. If you've known Samoa Joe for years, when Samoa Joe sees someone at the top of the corner buckle and they try to fly, he just has that swagger move nope, he just moves out of the way and they get hurt. Well, Shibata did that, and so Joe had that smile in his face, hey! So basically, he likes what he sees. So it's more like he gave Shibata the stamp of approval. I mean, I think that's a great thing. But nonetheless, the match was a great opening. But it was Shibata who picked up the win with the armbar onto Nese, and Nese had no other choice but to give up. Now, the Bang Bang Gang, as you know, will be facing the House of Black, but unfortunately in their favor, Juice cannot be involved in this match because it has to be Jay White. So they're not happy with it, but they believe that they will prevail against them. But we will see when that happens. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Big Bill versus Private Party. We saw what happened this past Wednesday and all this and that, but you would think the Private Party would have had everything under control. But I was impressed that they applied what's supposed to be the Ninjutsu, went into the Code Breaker, a move that Chris Jericho has known to do before. But Jericho kicked out, and then of course the Bad Apple, Brian Keith, used brass knuckles on Zay, and Jericho just won the match like that. And then of course it was on the post match, a 2-on-3 beatdown, but Joe, Shibata, and Hook decided they had enough. Now don't forget, Hook does have his issues towards Jericho because of the FTW belt and all that stuff, but this time they will take them on. So we'll see where that's gonna lead. Now, our next match is an eliminator match for the Continental Championship. We have, of course, Kazuchika Okada versus Ultimo Guerrero. Now, of course, Ultimo Guerrero is one of the best wrestlers, well recognized in CML. If you guys aren't familiarized with him, go check him out. Go on YouTube and see what he does. I mean, I've seen the guy wrestle many times, and he's pretty fun and a very veteran wrestler. But of course, there are moments we see certain wrestlers like Okada would try to remove Ultimo's mask, and that's exactly what he tried to do. He did try to remove the mask, and then of course, I don't know if you guys saw that, Okada gave him a Rainmaker, and the mask just flew off of him. But of course, Ultimo just grabbed it and covered his face. So basically, that's how it ended. But yeah. Now, of course, we do get an interview with Renee Paquette. She interviews Dante, Darius, and Action Andretti. Of course, people have been talking about Dante Martin. Now, remember, it was a ladder match that put him sidelined for almost a year. And people are saying, Dante, you're going back into a ladder match. This is what cost you, that could have cost you your career. He knows that he's crazy to do this, so he has to. And of course, Leo Rush comes out telling him about, that there will be in a ladder match at Forbidden Door. So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, we have the Iron Savages and Jack Jamison taking on Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Killswitch. Now, if you guys remember a while back, in the aftermath of Christian Cage losing the TNT title, Killswitch went on a rampage and attacked Iron Savages and Jack Jamison, and this is payback for this. But Christian, instead of being the guy he claimed, he decided to be at the commentary booth, while Killswitch and Nick Wayne do all the work, and that's exactly. But of course, in the end, it was Christian Cage with the Killswitch on Bronson that put him away. I mean, he just didn't do anything. But if I was Christian Cage, you would be careful, because the House of Black will get their payback. Now, our next match, we have Mariah May and Toni Storm teaming up. They face against Layla Hirsch and Lady Frost. Now, of course, many people are questioning Mariah May's loyalty. Will it be to her mentor or her friend? That's the thing that we are going to be seeing later on. But there was a moment we did see, of course, Toni Storm took the bullet for Mariah May, and of course, it was Toni Storm that put away Layla Hirsch with the Storm Zero, giving them the win. Now, Serena Deeb, as you know, coming off knowing that she had some matches she lost, she's willing to reflect on that, and she's willing to climb the mountain. So we'll see where that goes to. Now, of course, we see the House of Black members, Brody King and Malachi Black. They take on LSG and MSG. I can tell you they did a work on them. It was Dante's Inferno that finished the job on LSG by Brody King, and just like that. But Ian Riccaboni decided to do an interview with them. I mean, they're kind of asking about Buddy Matthews, and they felt that's like a stupid question, or of some sorts. Now, our next match, we have Hechiseto taking on Daddy Magic. As you know, this is a bit of a warm-up for Hechiseto when he faces MJF at Forbidden Door. This match ended with him applying a submission, sending a direct message to MJF and saying that he is the #1 luchador. So that is going to be interesting. Now, normally I don't talk about videos, but this one I did talk was a very interesting one. It was announced, as you know, if you saw the brackets in the Owen Hart tournament, Jeff Jarrett's name was in it. So there was a mention about what does it mean like for him. Now, if you guys remember, before Owen Hart, his untimely passing, he was teaming with Jeff Jarrett, and this to him hit him hard, because he knows they were they're really good friends and all that. So this means a lot to him. So I have to say, this is like, I don't know. But Jeff Jarrett is confident enough that he could win the whole thing. Now, our next match, we have the AEW International Championship. Will Ospreay takes on Brian Cage. But this was not an easy match for Will Ospreay. He knows he's not facing a slouch here. He's facing a guy with big muscles, so that's one thing that he was not prepared, but he knew he had to do it. But of course, lifting up, that's what's going to be a difficult. So the only thing he could do is apply the hidden blade, and just like that, it's over. But I'm sure if I was Swerve, I would keep an eye on the match. But of course, Swerve took things personally this past Wednesday, but we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we end things with AEW. Let's move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. Now, we're only going to focus on developments that, of course, has been happening. As you all may or may not have heard, WWE interviewer Kayla Braxton has announced that she'll be leaving WWE after 8 years. Now, this was confirmed that it is 100% true. It's kind of interesting that she makes her unexpected leave, but I think many fans appreciate her and all that. So we wish nothing for the best for her in her future endeavors. Now, recently, it was reported that Mike Bailey was in the backstage of AEW this week, and of course, it was kind of interesting. Now, there was a comment, there was someone that was talking, I don't remember when, that Mike Bailey should be heading to AEW, and I'm sure there's been talk. Now, recently, as you know, I talked about Mike Bailey, that his contract with TNA is almost up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does decide to go with AEW. I'm sure he just went there to check things out, so we'll see. Now, for our Yoshi wrestling scene, YuuRi, those who know this, I always did say that she's the ultimate underdog, and she has considered herself as the ace of Ganbare Yoshi, is now a two-time Ice Infinity champion. As you know, she won this belt a year ago against, I forgot who it was, Kotaro. Yeah, now I remember Kotaro, and she won that belt. And now she's a two-time, and she defeated, of course, the mother of the person that beat her for her belt, and that was, of course, Hamuko Hoshi. But yes, however, just like any other type of challenge, another Ice Ribbon wrestler named Tsukina Umino issued the challenge, and YuuRi accept. So it's interesting, now she's a two-time champion. So we could expect great things coming from her as we go. Now, on the DDT wrestling side, as you know, there's that infamous belt known as the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship, which is the 24/7 belt. We have a brand new champion, and that is CIMA, from formerly from Dragon Gate, and of course a member of the Strong Hearts. So it's great that he won it. So it's going to be real fun to see what's going to happen. Now, this one, as you know, this one was ahead of already time because of the time difference. As you know, Saya Kamitani has been participating in the Pro Wrestling Waves tournament, Catch the Wave. Kamitani came around by carrying the, of course, the Queen's Quest flag. As you know, she's still distraught after losing to Erotai in this fashion, but I'm sure many fans are giving her a lot of love and a lot of support. Hopefully, she can figure something out. Now, Ace Austin, for those who know this, he just recently defeated Alex Shelley to become the brand new world champion. Well, no, Ace Austin is now the new, my bad, my bad, my writing is messed up. Anyway, is the new Revolver World Champion. So that is something you wouldn't expect. And it's now been referred that he is the first ever Grand Slam champion. So that's interesting. So basically he has done it all in of course in wrestling, Revolver Wrestling. Now, Ice Ribbon has announced a brand new trainee that will make her debut on July 14th. Her name is Kirari. Don't know much about her, but yes, debut will take place on the 14th of July in Shinkiba. Now, here's the last update on this development here. Those who know this, we had the IWGP Women's title that took place, and while the night was still going for me, I could not ignore this one. The match ended by referee stoppage due to the fact that Tsukasa Fujimoto injured herself, dislocated her elbow. Now, she wanted to continue to wrestle with one arm, but the referee named Barb Sasaki said, no, we can't go on. Even her tag partner, Arisa Nakajima, was like saying, are you crazy? You can't just wrestle with this. So basically, she wanted to continue, but they had no other choice but to end it. Mayu Iwatani, of course, still the champion, but she did tell, of course, Fujimoto to heal better, and they'll hopefully get another chance of this belt. However, the referee Sasaki, he actually said this, and I think I have to admire that he made the right call. I was momentarily intimidated by Fujimoto's spirit, who said, please don't stop me, let me do it. There is so much to learn from accidents, and I wish I could have reacted sooner without hesitation. This is not the end of our story. It just started. I hope to read the story someday within even more depths. So he was intimidated by Fujimoto. Don't forget, Fujimoto is the ace of Ice Ribbon, and that's the reason why. Of course, we will see them some point, but we just don't know. But all we can ask is for her to recover well and all that, and we'll see what happens down the line. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates and everything else. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have more with New Japan Seoul. That's something we will continue. I'm sure we are doing the qualifiers for the B block for the G1. That's something that is possibly cleared. I'm still behind on Mighty Gold and a few other shows that I haven't watched, but I'll get to them as soon as possible, mostly coming from Japan. But we'll see what happens from here out. So that's the plan. Priority is New Japan, but we'll see how we go from there. So as of right now, I will see you guys on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.